If you're out of shape, today is your lucky day. Or if you used to be in shape but you've let things slide, I've got some really good news for you. In today's episode, I'm gonna let you in on one of the biggest hidden secrets in training. It's something that gives beginners a huge advantage. I'm talking about newbie gains. And if you wanna know how to make the most out of this golden opportunity, stick around. All right, guys, welcome to the Digital Barbell Podcast. Thanks so much for being here. If this is your first time finding our podcast, my name is Jonathan. My wife, Blakely, and I own Digital Barbell. We're an online training and nutrition coaching company, helping people all over the place get in great shape. Okay, so what exactly are newbie gains? It's really this magical period when somebody who's new to weightlifting or somebody who's been off of the gym for a long period of time can start and see rapid progress right there at the beginning. And when I say rapid progress, I'm talking specifically about in muscle growth and in strength gains. The gains come fast, the changes you see in the mirror are really noticeable, and pretty much all of your progress in the gym feels relatively effortless compared to how it's gonna feel as you get later on in your training career. You can kind of think about this like the honeymoon phase of a relationship. Everything just seems perfect, there's no arguments, you can even agree upon where you're gonna go to eat. During your newbie gains phase, you really should be expecting to get stronger every single week, and you should notice changes in your physique from month to month without having to look too closely. Now, I will say that your genetics do play a role in how your newbie gains phase is gonna play out. Some people are what's called hyper responders, and some people are just average responders. If you're following a well-designed training program, just about everyone is gonna see rapid progress during this honeymoon phase. So why does this happen? Why does the universe reward beginners or people who have been off for a while with this rapid progress? Well, the short answer is because when you do something that you haven't done before, your body has to adapt to it quickly. Specifically, when we're talking about lifting weights, your metabolism, your nervous system, and your muscles, well, they've got to kick into high gear to deal with this new stress that you're putting on them. If you want to know more about like what's actually happening under the hood, when you train with weights, it breaks down your muscle fibers. And then when you eat enough protein, your body sends a signal to your muscles called muscle protein synthesis that helps them rebuild and repair the damage that you've done. And as a beginner or somebody who's coming back from a layoff, you're extra responsive to this process. And to add to that, as a new person or somebody coming back, that muscle protein synthesis reaction stays elevated for longer after your workout than once you're more experienced. Basically, that means that your body is spending more time in that growth mode. All right, so now that we know why newbie gains happens, let's talk about how you can cash in on it and make the most of it. First and foremost, if you're not already lifting weights, you need to start. But I'm not just talking about doing any old random workout that you download off the internet. I'm talking about doing compound lifts like squats, deadlifts, presses, and rows. These multi-joint compound exercises use multiple muscle groups at the same time, and you can progressively add more weight over time, which is exactly what you need to be doing to take advantage of your newbie gains. If you're wondering how you should train, the best thing you can do is start simple. Do 3 sets of 5 of these exercises, adding weight to the bar every time you work out, and ride that out as long as you can. You're probably thinking, well, surely that's not all I need to be doing, and you're right. We would also recommend doing what's called accessory exercises. These are these single joint isolation moves like bicep curls and tricep press downs. The most recent research suggests that if you can get between 10 and 20 hard sets of those accessory moves per week, you will maximize your newbie gains progress. And if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say a hard set, you're probably new to this podcast, but a hard set is one where you come within about 1 to 2 reps before failure. That's probably a lot harder than you're used to pushing yourself. But if you truly want to maximize your progress, that's where you should be for almost all of your weightlifting sets. Not to get too detailed into program design here, but you should be spreading those 10 to 20 hard sets of your accessory exercises out across the course of the week, not piling them all into one day. And most importantly, if you're trying to squeeze out all this progress during your newbie gains phase, you need to be tracking your workouts. Write down the weight that you used, write down how many sets you did and how many reps you got, and aim to get a little bit more every workout. A little bonus to doing that in this phase is you're gonna watch yourself get stronger right there on paper every single time, and it's super motivating. All right, so your training is only one side of the equation when it comes to your newbie gains. The other side of it is, of course, your nutrition. In our experience, new lifters, and I'm talking about males and females here, usually fall into one of two categories. Number one, under-muscled and underweight. This is the person that needs to eat more and probably more protein to put on some muscle. The second category is somebody who's under-muscled and overweight. This is the person who needs a body composition change. They need to lose fat and build muscle. Regardless of which side you fall into, one thing is a non-negotiable, and I'm talking about protein intake. To maximize muscle during your newbie gains phase, we would recommend that you aim for between 0.8 and 1 gram of protein per day per pound that you weigh. And if you want to see exactly how many protein, carbs, and fat we recommend for you and your goals, we did make a calculator for that, so I'll put a link to it in the show notes below. Okay, so by now you probably know and would agree that protein is really important, but I bet you're underestimating the importance of carbs too. Carbs are what fuel those workouts that I talked about before, and when you pair carbs with protein, you boost the effectiveness of the protein itself. Something that's really common in people who have an ineffective newbie gains phase is that they're afraid to eat enough carbs to fuel their training and the body composition changes that they need to make. In other words, don't even think about going low carb or keto if your goal is to maximize your newbie gains. All right, so you might be wondering, well, what's a realistic expectation I can make maybe in my first year? Of course, your genetics are gonna play a role in this, but assuming that you're following a well-designed training program and you're doing things mostly right with your nutrition, men can realistically expect to gain 15 to 20 pounds of muscle in their first year, and women can expect to gain 10 to 15 pounds of muscle. Notice that I said gaining muscle. If you're eating in a calorie surplus to gain weight, you are going to accumulate a little bit of body fat in the process, but if you keep that calorie surplus conservative, almost all the weight you gain will be muscle, not fat. And I should say that the more consistent you are with your training and the stronger you get, the more that your weight will be skewed towards muscle and not fat. And just to be clear about expectations, you really should expect to get stronger every single workout for the first few months, but don't be alarmed if things do slow down after that. Focus on your training, focus on your nutrition, and enjoy the process. All right, let's talk a little bit about expectations, because sooner or later the progress is going to slow down. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It truly is just part of the process. As you become more and more trained, your body adapts, and the same stimulus, meaning the lifting that you're doing, just has less of an impact overall. It's called the repeated bout effect. And when it happens, you basically have two options. You can stay in a slight calorie surplus and keep pushing progressive overload in the gym. Your gains will slow down, but you won't stop altogether. Or you can adjust your training. You can increase the volume, you can change the rep schemes, or you can change the exercise selection to make your body adapt differently. The point is, it's a normal part of your newbie gains phase. Your newbie gains phase is a short-lived but incredible time to make rapid progress in the gym if you can get your training and nutrition dialed in. To make the most of it, you need to train the compound lifts. You need to use progressive overload to make sure you're getting stronger. You need to hit between 10 and 20 hard sets of your accessory exercises every week. You need to eat enough protein and fuel those workouts with carbs. And you need to track your progress and make sure you stay consistent. If you want our help in putting all this stuff together, that's what we do every single day. I'll put a link to all of our training options below. Have a great day. We'll catch you next time.